Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. So, as we all know, Grumpy comes out every Monday. A little extra grumpy because there's like nothing going on, no sports, nothing. It's kind of weird, feels odd. But the Polish Prince is here. What's happening?
Yeah, if anyone pays attention to the little tag I put under my name, usually every week there's something new that goes on there in reference to anything that's happened. And I think this is the fourth week in a row where I'm just asking if it's August yet, because there really is nothing going on. And it is what it is. We're just going to get through it. The tournaments have put a little bit of a dent in some of our wishful thinking, but here we are.
I'll be honest. I mean, by the way, I did forget to mention that, as always, we are brought to you by Reckless Coffee Roasters. Serzi, Joshua, hey, welcome back. Alan, as people gather around over here, and it's, yes, Reckless is in the house. I have Grumpy in the house. I say Reckless for Fridays. But I think I kind of needed the break. I don't know if we had like the overdose from like the tournaments, like the summer tournaments and stuff like that. But I think I had an overdose where I even put it in our writer chats yesterday. When Bickler calls you grumpy, I think you have to take a step back and be like, what is wrong? What am I doing? And I think he's right. Like, I think the extra freaking commentary I've had to deal with and extra like TV stuff, extra soccer, extra refereeing, I think I'm overdosing a little bit anyway. So I probably did need the time off.
Yeah.
But you go from that to like nothing. And then the fact that there's not a lot of news on the transfer side of things as you watch others have transfer news. I don't know, the unknown, maybe not Klopp not being there and stuff like that is kind of like a weird thing. Great day here, actually getting a piece of missionary fixed at work that's been down since January. So you're too busy with soccer. Now that there's no soccer, Ryan is getting shit done at work. But we do have, before we get to the transfer thing, so there's almost like a little bit of the transfer news thing. We'll find out if it is true or not. But before we get to that, we'll get to what we kind of talked about in our socials and stuff like that. If I can find a picture over here, we did this actually last year, right? Was that last year when we did it for the earthquake in Turkey? I think it was like last February, I want to say.
Yep.
February, March is when we ran that thing. And it did really well. And I thought, as a site, we felt kind of like good about ourselves using our powers for the good instead of clickbait bullshit kind of a thing. So this year, and I've been working on this in the background since vacation, because I came up with a crazy concept over vacation, I guess. So it's been like 3 weeks. But we are doing a giveaway, a fundraiser with the Jamie Carragher Foundation. This is just one of the many items they're actually donating to the silent auction that apparently Ryan wants, but I refuse to call him daddy. So
do it.
But I'll just put it on the screen and it'll just go with that. Many other items that are other signed jerseys from like Hendo, Jota, and stuff like that. So they've been excellent and kind enough to donate those to the silent auction. We're gonna do the fundraiser and the GoFundMe or like a Facebook one, like we did last year with the Save the Children when we did it to the Turkey and Syria earthquake relief ordeal. But on top of that, what we are doing, and this is going to be the interesting and challenging aspect of it, is we're doing a 24-hour podcast, a podathon, if you will, is what it's going to be at the end. So myself, since I'm the sucker who got everybody else into it, I managed to easily sucker in Bickler. Gally is in, but he's worried about his makeup people being there, like how he's going to look after 14 hours of being on air and stuff like that. But we are going to be on air 24 hours straight. Gally did make a good point, though. Maybe we can do something where we actually might collect more funds for people to stop us from going on air for like 24 hours.
I'm so glad this is happening, because I think we joked about doing a 24-hour stream last year, And and then when we started thinking about it, like, that's a very long time. But to hear it actually come together and become a reality, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I was like, what can we do that's kind of like crazier or weirder than we normally do? That's really the only thing I came up with. So after suffering through this year's, if anybody has a different idea for next year, because we did think about doing this maybe like annually, so that pick a. Hopefully, if things go well, I'm sure anything like we did last time, anything we raise is going to be more than zero, which is going to be better. So I think this is going to be a good one. There's already a lot of interest in it. Kazi already donated an item to the silent auction. Kieran, friends of the site and who occasionally writes for the site as well, has already contributed an idea. So we'll put all that stuff out. We have 3 weeks to prepare for it. So hopefully we'll get more items added to the silent auction. And then the 24-hour thing, we are taking sponsors for the hours. So we're hoping like every hour is sponsored by an individual or your company and stuff like that. Ryan, you should bring the brewery on board, for example, and stuff like that. So anybody interested, shoot us a message because we are looking to get every hour sponsored. It's going to start only at like $100 to sponsor an hour. So it's not a huge amount, but those will add up with the silent auction and the GoFundMe and stuff like that. So hopefully we can raise some good money for the Carragher Foundation, who does like a lot of excellent stuff. And we'll probably talk about that throughout the week as well. Hoping to get one of those guys like Mike or somebody on air as well to talk about it. So that is in the works. Would you be able to handle the 24 hours, Matish? Or do you think we'll be able to handle the material 24 hours? Or like Galli's going to have to call the ambulance 14 hours in or something?
No, I think surprisingly, I feel like you guys will be able to do it. I think I would last maybe 12 hours before. Depends on how many breaks I get.
There's no breaks. I mean, you get a bathroom break.
I'm just saying, do you get to leave to go to the bathroom or maybe have some food? Or do you have to eat on air?
Oh, you can. Yeah, you have to eat on air. You can't just walk away.
I don't want to watch people eat, man. That's like a.
I mean, you're probably gonna have something suitable for on-air eating. I don't think I'm gonna just like barbecue wings or something.
Just mute the mics. That's all I'm saying. Just mute the mics because I think just the sound of people eating, for me specifically, I know everyone's different, but yeah, I can't take it. So I remember when I did some video game streaming back in the day. I think the longest I went in one go was like 6 or 7 hours. So I'm thinking I could double that because I'm not really actively playing anything, so it might even be a little bit easier. So yeah, I think it'll last a bit.
It should be interesting. It should be. There's a lot to talk about. It will be. Ryan says I want to see Big at 3 a.m. I will pass the notes because it does sound personal. It does sound like you're hitting on him, but I will definitely pass the notes to see if he's interested in seeing you in the morning, and we'll see if we can get something going there. But I think. There'll be a lot to talk about. We're doing it from August 10th to August 11th. So it will be on August 11th is our last preseason game against Real Sociedad, where speaking of, I did not even notice that actually. Ties in, and where we bring on Kubo. We're like, you guys can't leave, Kubo is staying. Kind of an ordeal. And so we'll be doing the live watch along for that game. We'll have the post match. We'll preview all the Premier League teams probably and stuff. So plenty of content to talk about. Hopefully there'll be some transfers to talk about. But aside from that, it should be fun and interesting. I have actually at one point worked 32 hours straight. That is my record. Wouldn't recommend it. But I've done it. Been there, and I'm talking like working, like on my feet, moving around, and also included like driving back and forth and stuff like that too. So yeah, I don't recommend it. So I was like, 24-hour pod is easy, but it's gonna be interesting to see how Bitter and Galley handle it as well. But
never mind.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the only thing I back in the day, this was 6-7 years ago now, I had 3 jobs because I was just hating myself and wanted to not be social at all and was just saving a bunch of money. So I was a server at a breakfast restaurant, or I would start at 6:30 and that would go to 3 o'clock. And then I'd drive home, change to go serve at a different restaurant up until about 9:30. and then I would, at that restaurant in the bathroom, change my shirt and go bartend till about 3, 4 in the morning. And then because the breakfast restaurant was the opposite direction of my house, I would then go to the breakfast restaurant and sleep in the parking lot for 2 hours before my shift started. And those were my weekends for about a year and a half.
Is this part of like the Prince initiation program?
Yeah,
like before they take you in, they tell you
like here, they want you to suffer as much as possible so you could really appreciate what you have.
Your first workouts in the real world, son, and then you can be a prince.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, those were some rough times, but it was all worth it. I think that's what they say.
But it says when Matush says he had 3 jobs, does it mean he had 3 different people doing his jobs? He is speaking in third person, but he's talking about other people sleeping in cars and
secrets out.
So as he also says, have to get on eating donuts. Trust me, for 24 hours, that dude could barely handle the 45 minutes. So we wouldn't want to do that to him. But I was trying to put up on the screen. This is Anfield's headline, but since they have a pop-up every half a second, that doesn't seem doable. But Takefusa Kubo, which is like a really cool name. But like you said, it sounds more like a villain in a cartoon more than anything else. But so that news is really heating up. He's 23 years old. He does play for Real Sociedad. What do you think?
I think it's very weird because so 5-6 years ago, if anyone's played FIFA or Football Manager, like Kubo's name is one name that always popped up all the time. He was he was in the Barcelona academy, and then he went over and played, and then he was signed by Real Madrid, and then he was loaned out from Real Madrid to a bunch of places. So he was always going to be the next thing. He's been dubbed the Japanese Messi. It's turned out a lot better than the Polish Messi. We won't be reminded.
Bring that up. But
we won't be reminded of that one. So I think the weirdest thing to me is I don't think the 50 to 60 million is bad for what he is. I think what's bad is hearing that he would be on 240,000 a week and only Mo would make more than that. And that to me doesn't seem within the context of what this club is. And from a player profile, he really feels like a Harvey Elliott type, undersized, left-footed, kind of a 10, who isn't the quickest, but is very creative and he's very agile. But he sort of feels like just another Harvey. And if you're getting a second one of them, I mean, I guess the joke is what's better than one Harvey Elliott, 2 Harvey Elliots. But I don't know if you necessarily need the second one. I understand this could be a long-term Mo replacement on the right wing, but it's hard to see the value in it right now, given that he's never had that kind of, he's not a Mo type, right? He's not a Kudus type, where that's kind of the profile that I think we were looking for. So I think all in all, I like him as a player. He was always one player that I bought in the video games because he had always a ton of potential. The Americans speaking about video games and football players. But he's been around. He's played in La Liga for several years. He's a tidy player. It just, I think in the context of what this club needs and the salary rumors, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense.
The money, I think, doesn't make sense to me for what he is. The pace thing, like I say, I'm not very familiar with it. Hold on, just to mess with you even more, though, I'll probably do this so that we can do like some full-fledged gaming analysis. His speed is only 84. The funny thing is, Serzi says very underwhelmed with this. Can we get Saido's take on this, please? Ask and you shall receive. Kubo, nothing concrete FC, says Saidu. Better than Harvey in terms of pace and skills. See, we do need somebody for the right wing. I did like the background of, I don't know a lot about him person. Like, I have not watched them, and you guys all know how I feel about YouTube videos and clips. Having said that, I did watch a few of them just to see what the heck, like we're talking about over here. So I delved into that. And I did notice that everybody gets a video. You get a video. You get a video. Anytime your name pops on anywhere. Like, obviously, Liverpool, we've been lucky enough to have less names pop up. But when it comes to, like, Fenerbahce, every day there's, like, 3 names. So 3 opportunities to do a new video. From what I see, yes. I mean, it's more of like a winger compared to, like, since you said Harvey, I guess we'll compare him to Harvey. But like size-wise, physical-wise, I could not really tell that because you would have to like watch a game and see. I did see him like shoulder off and like almost lower his shoulder and get past people and stuff. I don't think you can see that from Harvey as well. You do get the agility and like the shiftiness, but you don't get really necessarily the strength or like dropping the shoulder and being able to outpace somebody. But I guess the price tag is where I'm stuck at too, like 50, 60 for Mo's backup. And this is like the world we live in, right? If you don't spend the money, we complain about not spending money. When we spend the money, we're like evaluate how much is being spent. It's not necessarily our money. But like you said, it comes odd that we would fork out 60 million or 50 million for Mo's backup. I mean, not even a backup. I guess it is a long-term replacement. But when does that make you hopeful that there are other people already being worked on for the positions that we actually do need? Not that we have not needed the right winger, because we didn't have another natural right winger for freaking like 5-6 years now.
Mm.
But if I told you needs, that's probably 4th or 5th on your list.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I don't know if that gives me more confidence about the other deals. I feel like the confidence I would have received would have been having deals made for those positions where we have them ranked at 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, and not kind of down the pecking order, especially if Mo is staying, if Mo is getting that contract extension. It just, because you have short-term replacements for Mo in the squad right now as far as how you could potentially set up. So I think that's another thing, is that you don't necessarily need to worry about a long-term Mo replacement if the same kind of Mo position doesn't exist in this team over the next 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if this is also something that's leaning towards a shift in how we were going to shift in how we set up overall, but I just don't know if that means that the Mo position as we know is gone, and this is more of a natural replacement for that new position and not necessarily what we've known that right wing to be.
I guess that makes sense, right? I mean, we don't know, and this is like the problem with this offseason compared to the off seasons of the past. Well, mind you, in the off seasons of the past, we were like, "Oh, maybe the system is changing," but we should have probably known better. But I think not having seen the new manager's team and formation and stuff like that in action, it does make it tricky to kind of like gauge how a guy is going to do and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it was a position of need, I guess. If it was signed for like a $15-30 million or something like that, not that the dollar amount reflects the player, but I think I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We spent that much on that. Because I guess do you think maybe we're the only ones thinking number 6 is a needs and Slot is like, no, we're good over there. But I do need a right winger, or it's just a matter of, moving in all the alleys at the same time.
Yeah, who knows? As far as we know, it could be like an Endo and Trent double pivot. I don't know. So it's your worst nightmare, maybe. I don't know. I feel like
it's the combination of slow and reckless. Yeah.
I'm not too fussed about the 50 to 60 million, because I think because of the market that we're in, you're gonna have to spend that kind of amount to get a player that you think has the quality, that you are that interested in. His release clause is in that same range. And we know that this club likes to spread out their payments over installments. So sometimes they'll actually pay maybe a million or two extra more to allow those installments to go through the way they want them to. My big thing about the money is that he is being reported to be on more money than anyone in the club but Mo. And I just think that sets a weird precedent for the rest of the team.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that is. I saw that as well. I'm not buying it because it's not like he's on those wages now, is he? Unless, Real Sociedad took on those wages somehow in the past. I haven't looked too much into his numbers when it comes to the wages. I'll be honest with you. That's something to kind of like go back and take a look at. But Saito says spending's generation generally, but for our FSG, right player, cheap player. Well, not necessarily. That's the problem. Like, this is not a right player. Definitely not a cheap player. That's for sure. And I think, yeah, I mean, the 50, 60 is nothing. But I think Cersei was asking earlier, like, are we doubting Edwards? And I think I am not doubting Edwards in terms of, here's where I'm at. I'm more worried about the silence and lack of movement because we're walking into a huge, huge unknown. And I am not very hopeful. And it's not like, I mean, we've been on air for a long time. Like, I'm not like, so-and-so is getting this. Who are we getting? Like, I don't care. Like, but when you look around and you see other teams, not City maybe, but they're going to pull a bunch of moves and, like, get people anyway. But, like, I feel like Arsenal was good and improving. You have Tottenham that was pretty decent till things started to fall apart. They're improving. Not that I'm as worried about them, but Chelsea, you never know when they can finally put it together. They start at the end of the season. I don't know, maybe they screwed themselves by getting rid of Pochettino. And you look at United, I hate to say it, I am liking what they're doing in the offseason and stuff. Not because of the dollars, but in terms of like the people they're getting. And it almost looks like they have a plan in place, which we haven't said about United in like over a decade, I think. So I guess I am more worried that we're going to a huge unknown. But I don't know if I asked you, but I think I asked Gally like a couple of Mondays ago. We're coming from a season where we did really well, right? Except towards the end, like things started to fall apart and, like, well, we didn't have enough people, blah, blah, blah. But I look back in the season and I cannot tell you more than one or two players who had a good season that were like, oh man, we wasted his good season or something like that. Should that be something that gives us some calm, knowing maybe if Slot gets 3 or 4 players to give their best season, we're going to be in really good shape anyway? Because even when they didn't have their best season, we did pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think there's levels to that question because while you can say that not a lot of players had good seasons, a lot of players have time still to have a better season. But then you think about Mo and Van Dijk, and their time is very limited in what they have left to give as far as a good, productive season. Maybe it's I'm jumping the gun a bit here with Van Dijk because we've talked about how Thiago Silva was able to change his game in a way to allow him to play till he's 38, 39, 40 years old and still be at a good level. So Van Dijk will have to do the same thing. But Mo, there's only so many seasons left. So I think the worst part is letting these last really good moments, these last really good seasons slip away without having much to show for them specifically.
Yeah.
I think the saddest part about the last 9 years isn't that it's the fact that the players who were there for so long together don't have more accolades next to their name like they should. I think a couple more trophies like they should. I think we can all sit here and say that they, rival fans will say, well, you don't deserve anything, you don't win. But we can sit here and say that they definitely deserved a couple more trophies given what they went through, given how close they made many of those seasons. So I think, yes, there is a little bit of hopefulness that because many players did not have a great season, that they could come out of this and have a great season this year. But at the same time, we don't know how everything's going to look. We don't know how much time Van Dijk and Mo have left. And so it's a weird in between for me, honestly.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like lost working on that. So Z says we don't need wholesale changes, just need a center back, cover replacement for Robo, and a DM. And that's why the right wing signing for 50-60 million, because I think all of us are saying that. I don't know about a replacement for Robo, but I have, like, when we did the buy, sell, loan thing, I was more of a fan of selling Costas and not, we'd rather have like somebody that we actually think can be that player down the road. I think we've seen what we're going to see out of Costas. I don't see Costas getting a lot better. It's like, oh, just wait kind of a thing. I think we've seen what we've seen. And what I've seen is not like, yep, this is the future. kind of a thing. Like you see Bradley on the right hand side, right? And you can kind of see this is the future, and you're okay with saying this is the future because you can see the ceiling is even going to be higher as he gets stronger and stuff. I just don't get that same feeling on the left hand side. So I would agree with that. But at the same time, Sparky says, and I'm partially agreeing to this too. So I think we're like all over the place with this because there's so much unknown. But Sparky says, I don't think we sign anyone in this window. Slot needs to see what he wants. So is this going to be a good old-fashioned American rebuilding year where we stay put and be like, let's see what we got first, and then we'll work on it? And if that was the case, is Kubo just like, and then next year you'll have a starting right wing with Kubo?
Maybe, yeah. So then I guess the question is, if that's the part of it, then what is the expectation of the team? Should we still be expecting top 4?
Yes, I think that's the minimum you expect. Or it should be the minimum you expect because you don't want to get out of the Champions League ordeal by itself.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I think given contextually how, we mentioned the teams that had a better year than us have gotten stronger, it's going to be tough to fight for those 4 places if you are going to sit a bit content at what you have, knowing how things finished last year. Is I guess the only thing that I'm.
But okay, bear in mind. See, I'm just playing devil's advocate because I partially agree. I'm kind of in there, but bear in mind we entered last year with minimal hopes, thinking, "Hey, we got a brand new midfield. It's going to take time for these guys, at least a season." Blah blah blah. Well, it's been a season. Will that midfield be really kicking now because it's been a season and everybody's been here? So maybe we don't need as many replacements and we will be a lot better. So we will have improved on the training pitch, if you will, as opposed to, signing new guys and adding more to the mix. It's almost like I have enough over here. Let's figure this out instead of you dumping more things in here that we don't know or we have unknowns for. Let's look at what we got. Kind of like what Sparky is saying. No, I'll tell you exactly what we need and you go get it. The cynical part of me thinks, this is a marketing signing. That's really expensive.
Yeah, you don't.
The Japanese market, isn't it?
I think you've already had Minamino and you have Endo. I don't think there's anything else that you need to break into the Japanese market. I think there's a big Liverpool contingency there already. So I don't think needing to spend that much money to get into the market is necessary.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I think
I thought maybe Minamino was.
Yeah.
So it was a low-risk ordeal as well, and there was like a win-win-win kind of a thing. And I thought he did well, even though, he kind of felt like he was not going to be a long-term ordeal in the Premier League physically, I think. But this feels a little bit different. I don't know. Is that price tag that makes it feel different?
I think so. But I don't know. I feel like if this happened a couple of years ago, I would have felt better about it. Given
in which way?
Because he was this Real Madrid prodigy that's coming up, and everyone kind of wanted a piece of him, and being able to be the team that beats everyone else out to bring him on, kind of how we've been wanting to have, like let's say signing Arda and then loaning him out, just having those guys like Real does, like Chelsea does to an extent, where you have just a bunch of these guys that you're able to loan out and have in the meantime. So, but then there might not have been as much. There might not have been a position for him a couple of years ago as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'd get excited about it if it was 2017, 2018, and he was this, 16, 17-year-old wonder kid that was coming through the ranks like he was. But yeah, I don't know.
It's one of those things where we're like, what's going to happen? I do feel like it's a little bit of walking into the unknown. I think is what worries fans. They might not consider it an unknown. You know what I mean? Like we're considering it an unknown because we don't know what it's going to be out. They see it day in and day out. They see the training pitch and stuff like that. So Slot might be very content with what he has and stuff like that. We as fans, I think, are more worrying about the unknown than perhaps they are. Saida says we have kids that are good but not reliable to win us trophies. Not on a consistent basis, I guess. They didn't win us one trophy.
I was going to say.
So there's that. But I know what he means. And it goes back to the unknown, though. Like, I don't know. Like, if last year, I guess this is where it comes to, right? Last summer, if they came to us and they said, don't worry, guys, we got this Bradley kid on the right-hand side who can be a right back and he's going to be excellent. And then we have this Kwanzaa kid who's going to be a great center back. Just watch and stuff. We would be like, I don't know. I'm really worried. We can't do kids. We should really sign somebody. So that's why I feel like they definitely know more than we do. And if they're not doing moves, I guess I'm still have, and going back to RB doubting Edwards, I still have enough faith in Edwards to say, if we needed somebody, we will be making the move for it.
And, let's not get it twisted. Edwards, as fantastic as he is, he's allowed to make mistakes. He is.
No, how dare you?
He is human to a certain extent. As far as we know, he's pretty human.
Not that I heard.
So, and, not every single transfer in the Edwards area was a 1,000% hit. So I think we are allowed to give him some room and to see what happens. But yeah, I think everything just comes back to us. I think most of it is just us talking about where we have felt the most vulnerable, and right wing hasn't felt vulnerable as it has. If, when Mo was gone for AFCON, or if he was hurt rarely when that happened, we felt it a bit. But overall, right wing was never one of those pressure points that we've been feeling. And we've been feeling the pressure points of center backs or a DM for a long extended time. Granted, I'm the same person that a couple weeks ago said that, the team that we had last year did as well as they did, that I'm not going to feel as worried if we go into the season without buying anyone. But, all it takes is a couple weeks for me to sit here going, like an addict, I just couldn't get enough.
I think that was more reverse psychology on your part, because we all felt at the end of the day something will happen. I mean, moves are going to happen, so it's okay. We'll just be fine. But now, as days go by and nothing is happening, and then I think it always keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like they're like, hey, and I don't care. Like I don't want us to go. I'm not like, look at them spending money. I don't care if we spent money. Like if Edwards one time signed like a left back or a center back or something like that for 15 million, 20 million, I would be, okay with that, knowing, hey, they addressed it. They probably see something in this kid, and I would move on. It's not a lot about, like, oh, they're spending money and we're not and stuff like that. I really don't care about that as much. Sparky says Slot hasn't had this whole squad together yet. So how can we sign anyone? Money doesn't know what he has. See, I can go play devil's advocate for both sides with this, because while I agree with that, I mean, I don't think Slot is like, I can't wait to see this Diaz kid. Who is he? I mean, he knows what he has in that. I think the people he has to look at are the people that are there now.
They're already there. Yeah. Yeah. Because when you think about who isn't there, you have McAllister that isn't there. You have Diaz that isn't there. You have Trent that isn't there, Gomez that isn't there, and who was there was the list of the people not making the US trip. Those guys.
Nunez?
Was Nunez part of that list?
Yeah, I think so.
And in today's world, with technology as readily available and with all of the kind of scouting that's done, with all of the taping that's done, with this and that, it'd be very weird if he didn't have some sense of what these players were capable of. He probably has an idea in mind for each one of these players. And, all the players that we just named that aren't going to make the trip are players that I understand that they would be starting, most likely, all of them. So it's difficult to say from that perspective of just seeing them together with the rest of the starting 11. But at the same time, you kind of know what you're going to get already, because these aren't unknown commodities, like you've been saying. We've seen these guys for the last couple of years. We understand, it's a big club, and Slot he's looked into everything. He's watched tape all day, every day, probably seeing, and then out on the pitch, on the training field, he's just with the guys who are doing the best they can to break into that 11, with the exception of a few.
Do the young kids still say tape? That was like, did you just show your age there by saying they're watching tape?
I feel like it's still
that huge round reel.
Yeah. I don't know what else you would call it. It just makes sense in my head to call it tape.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we need somebody young too. I'll ask John Owens what he calls. Because we always joke about with my brother, like we'll call like, used to like cassette tapes is what they used to call.
Yeah.
Like, in Turkish, the direct translation is cassette tapes, even though it's not cassettes, but it's like video cassette tapes basically. So that was like an old saying. So my brother and I always joke about watching the cassette tapes of like this player and this team and stuff like that. But yeah, that when you said tape, I was like,
I could say
old
footage.
Prince is right.
I could say footage, and that sounds even older. I think it sounds even older. Let's take a look at this footage here from this soccer team back in 1941. Like
yeah, when you say it like that, it does sound like older.
But when you take a look at this tape, no, it doesn't sound the same. I think footage is older, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah, I will have to go. We need somebody. I don't think that. Sadly, there's nobody young in the audience. They're probably sleeping in, those lazy bums. The new kids, I tell you. One more isn't there. Says Saidu, irreliable.
Damn it, Endo is there.
Yeah. I mean, it is only July 22nd, so it is probably a little too early to freak out. But at the same time, we're 4 weeks away from kickoff. Exactly 4 weeks away. Well, we just passed the 4 weeks because I know the fundraiser is 3 weeks away. So it's going to be interesting to see. And give me a number of new faces you think we will have signed between now and the beginning of the season. What is the window? Does the window close end of August? End of August. Is it end of September?
End of August.
End of August. Okay.
Yeah. 3, and really? two of them end up like Arthur. So.
What do you mean, like the Arthur that never happens, or?
Yeah,
the other Arthur, the old Arthur.
Mello, yeah. Okay. He's there, and then he plays for like 2 minutes, and we never see him again. End of September.
See, I thought it was September too, but it threw me off because I feel like here's the problem. We're used to the club era where when you sign somebody, unless you signed them 2 months ago, you're not going to see them on the pitch. Not every manager is like that. I mean, there are players who are signed and then, 2 weeks later, you see them out there playing once they got a couple of practices. And I know that's not something that Klopp did. So I think when we signed somebody, we were like, okay, well, if you sign him in September, you're not going to see him until November and stuff like that. I don't think that might not be the situation moving forward, I guess. Is Mateusz counting the fake Mbappe we bought from Chelsea? You're not counting the kid, right? That's just
that's not even 1,000% official yet. It hasn't been released by the club.
I haven't seen a photo of him signing or anything yet, but I thought it was a done deal. Whatever that means. If it's not signed, I don't know. Done deal. Endo is good, but ain't reliable. Biceters is good, not reliable. I think in terms of I made my feelings known on Endo. I think I love having Endo there in a game where we're not going to dominate possession. Or when he comes in once we have the lead to close out games and wins it, starts the counter, we score the second, third, whatever, and then we move on. So I think that's the role I want him in. I do not want Endo starting at the 6 when we have a team at home that we're going to have to work on breaking down, because they're going to sit back and stuff like that. That's the only person. And Bajcetic, I don't know where you are with him, but I just worry about the injury history. I really like what I see from him. I know Bickler was talking about last Monday, I think, how he's not very physical to be a 6. I think it was Bickler. What do you think about that? I mean, do you buy him as a long-term 6? Because he's still young.
He is. I don't see him as a long-term 6. He definitely feels more box to box in a maybe like a left-right mid kind of situation. Not so much.
So he's more McAllister than he is Endo.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's where I would put him. But I think because like you're saying, body-wise, unless he grows into his body a bit more, there's not going to be a whole lot there. He's going to get bullied a lot, and if he doesn't get stronger. So. I don't know. Maybe plays some sort of wing back situation as well. Depending on I don't know. He seems like another player that doesn't really have a great position for him right now in this kind of setup.
I mean, he's always played 6. And I mean, he's a 6 like Thiago is a 6, though, I believe. Like, I think he can be a 6 in a double pivot or something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
just
like,
never
physically,
saw.
he's not going to get up in the air and, like, do all those things. But I think he's very good on the ball, in receiving the ball and building play and stuff like that. So, like, he does a lot of those things where he is not afraid to turn with the ball. Said is talking about Ederson. I did see some rumors about Ederson, but I felt those were more fan generated than actual. Ryan says, didn't he come up as a center back? Bicetic? I'm not sure. But that's another thing. We signed Sepp, if you will, and then we signed Carvalho, if you will. So there are some signings, people. Like a new signing, if you will. You're not buying.
I can't believe you would do that.
You never know. You never know. I mean, I really think we talked about Sepp a lot on the show and on the Monday night show and stuff like that. So I don't want to go that one to it again. But Carvalho is an interesting one, actually, that we haven't probably talked a lot about. What is your gut feeling on him? Does he stick around? I guess, obviously, we don't know how we play in the old system. I could have guaranteed you he's not going to stick around because he's not going to fit. But in this new system, do you think we'll find a spot for him?
Sure. Maybe. I don't know.
Why not?
But I can also see the weird thing with that one, and I'm completely wrong on this, and not everyone feels the same. I feel like if you can find that position for Carvalho, then I feel like you also have that position for a couple other players on this team that are already better than Carvalho. Like, I feel like Szoboszlai and or Elliott could do that same position and do it better than Carvalho could, which is the only reason why I would feel weird about keeping him if it is for positional sake when there are 2 guys that can do it better than he can. But who knows if, maybe he's had such a jump from Hull City last year to now where he's just – he's going to be someone that Schlatt is going to absolutely love and have on the team. I mean, we had some really good memories with Carvalho. The winner against Newcastle was fantastic, right? I think we all enjoyed that one. And so it's maybe he just needed a little bit of growing up to do, and he could be kind of a different player than what we remember seeing.
I don't have a lot of hope because I do agree with you. We do have people who will do better for one. And I think one thing with Carvalho is I don't know if Klopp ruined him. He just did not fit Klopp. And he did not fit Leipzig. So I think it's the player that you need to find a thing for him. He is not going to be able to adjust to what you got going there. And I think that's the problem. So if it works great. If it doesn't work, it just does not work at all. Like, it's not like half works or something like that. It's not like, putting Mac at 6 or something like that. It's not a player that adjusts to the position. And he is very, very limited in terms of what he can play on the pitch, because you can't put him on the wing, because we obviously tried that when he was here. Will the new system enable him? I'm not sure, but I think you make a great point there. You have players in the squad, I should say, that will do better in a lot of those ways. And I trust them more defensively in all those guys compared to Carvalho. I just did not like his overall, like, coming and going. It's different. Like, when you get a guy, you're like, oh, it doesn't fit, you loan him. He has a good season coming back. Like, all the talk afterwards, sending back from, he did do well at Hull City, and he did do back at Fulham, right? It was that. So he has done well there, but he flopped here. He flopped in Germany. So the situation has to be ideal for Carvalho to actually get the Carvalho. There you go. There's a signing. The entire Bordeaux club we've signed.
Look, that's 25 new faces, you guys.
So, I think that was more of a, that we're leaving kind of a thing in terms of negotiations. I think that's going to eventually going to happen. And I'm all for it, because then, I mean, you see what Chelsea is doing, signing any teenager that's walking around playing well. And then you get these guys, you send them over there. You have to, if you're going to compete with the other guys doing the same thing, you have to be able to do it. So they get playing time without you necessarily loaning them.
Yeah.
And them getting valuable experience to bring back.
And they just just because I'm receiving the instant notifications on all the transfer stupid stuff. They signed Caleb Wiley, a wingback from Atlanta United, and they have immediately, like 10 minutes later, says Chelsea have decided for Caleb Wiley to move to Strasbourg on loan after the Olympics. So that's just kind of the
coincidence.
If you can make that happen, sometimes why not? If you can get these guys at 18, 19 years old and get them locked into your club and just give them a chance to play, why not do it? And I think Bordeaux does offer that. I think we saw it with City and Girona, and I guess it'll just come down to the tough part about Bordeaux is that the French league is a bit tumultuous, I would say, right now. There's not a lot of faith in the money in that league, and not to say I think the league is going to get disbanded or anything, but it's a weird time for the French league. From what if you're reading, listening about it, it's going to be interesting to see how the league shakes up in the next 4 or 5 years, given the finances.
Yeah, I mean, that's more like something they should care about in terms of the club gaining or losing value, right? I'm assuming. I mean, that's what they're. In terms of picking the club, not the concept is there, but in terms of picking the club they pick, I'm sure they're looking at how much they can increase the value once they take over, and they already have systems established in all their other sporting ventures that they can take over there and say, oh, we can turn this and make it like 10 times more valuable. Maybe it's the one that has hit rock bottom. I mean, I remember growing up, that Bordeaux team was the team in France back in the day, because I remember Fenerbahce had a huge victory against them, and that was like one of those like, oh my god, we can't believe we beat Bordeaux. I mean, they had like Tigana and stuff like that. They had like a lot of like good players. You're like, who's that? Because you're freaking young and you don't know, but you can go watch the tapes on them if you want. I'm sure there are a lot of tapes on this. But that's it for us this morning. Hopefully by tonight, I mean, I'm sure there's not going to be any new news by tonight, but I'll definitely have more information about the fundraiser tonight on tonight's podcast with the boys, Gally and Bickler, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And hopefully by Wednesday morning, maybe we'll have some other announcements with signings and stuff like that. Or, American Scouser announcements, one way or the other. What's the game plan for the Prince today? Everybody got groomed last week, so
yeah, I think today's an off day. It looks like I was spared by you again. You had made some threats over.
Actually, you know what? You were spared. I did forget the footage, but more importantly, I saw on your Instagram that the Prince was in goal yesterday.
Yes, yeah, I made my return.
How did that go? Can you watch the tapes?
My thumb hurts. I took a shot from ahead. I tried to catch a ball coming off a cross, and I kind of accidentally punched someone in the head, but I hurt my thumb in a way. But hey, we won.
Individual.
We won 3-1. I was pretty much untested most of the game, and the one test I had, I failed. So it was nice that we had a 3-0 cushion when I gave up the goal, because otherwise it would have felt a lot worse. But I had a couple saves. It wasn't there weren't any shots on goal. It just the quality wasn't quite good. So I think it was a nice soft return for me.
I haven't seen you in a sporting environment except your layups in that video, which I have to freaking show. But I see you as a very quiet goalie, where I would turn around and be like, speak up.
Yeah.
Right?
I am. And the hardest part is that this team specifically, so a line cook that I worked with many, many years ago, he has this team that he kind of coaches. And so he reached out to me saying that they needed a goalie for yesterday, maybe the next couple weeks. And so everyone on the team is just Spanish speaking. And I don't know Spanish. The only thing the words that I know are portero, which is goalie, because I can just call it out if it's a corner. So I'll yell that out.
Portero? Is that what it is?
Portero.
Portero. Okay.
Portero. And then I also know arbitro because it's ref, and so I can just yell arbitro, hey arbitro, and that's it.
Or hey asshole.
Yeah. But I'll try and say like right or left, like derecha or izquierda or whatever. But it just I don't feel confident saying any of it. So yeah, I am very quiet.
I've done that.
Goal.
It's very difficult. Yes. I mean, it sounds funny, but it is very difficult. I played, it was like just pickup. And these guys, I mean, I don't know what kind of a shape they were in, but, we would play like 11v11, like pickup. And they're like, right after the game, they were like, oh, come on over. They're like, cerveza and stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm like dying over here. Like, if I drank beer now, I would just die. But these guys were after the game on the sidelines smoking and drinking beer. But yeah, as we play, yeah, it's very difficult. Centro is the only thing I freaking figured out afterwards. And I was like, just freaking Centro already kind of a thing. But aside from that, yeah, it's very hard to communicate in a different language if you're not used to it. So, okay, we need some cassette tapes, as Ryan says. And Sergi says, I thought Portero meant pony.
Nope.
I hope you're not like saying the wrong thing. They're laughing at you right now. They're like, how about that white kid that was saying pony all game?
We got him to say pony. Fucking idiot over here. Well, then the rest, the fans are also saying pony then, because they are saying the same
Were they
thing.
Laughing when they were saying that?
No, they were cheering.
Yes, it is Portero. But Portero is a dude goalie. Portera.
And they were not using the A, so
okay,
I was spared there.
Okay, well, something to look out for you when you go next week. You're like, hey, I heard that. You said
I'll get Michelle to get some tapes for you guys so you can see exactly what's going on.
Can you please get some footage? We would love to see some cassette tapes of you. I want to see Michelle holding one of those old school like cameras, like, taping you over there. That's what I really want to see.
I had a brief stint. This was maybe 10 years ago. There was a company that would videotape American football games, like maybe freshman, sophomore, high school football games.
Oh, okay.
And there was this really cool contraption that I would take into my car and I would build. And it was sort of this tripod that would go up 20, 30 feet into the air. And then I would have the little screen next to me so I could see what I was filming. And it was some of the coolest things, just strolling up to the park, setting it all up, putting the camera up 20 feet in the air and just trying to record the entire game and getting paid pretty nicely for it. So that was fun. I wish I had one of those laying around. It'd be really nice to record something. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Ryan says, I was in a soccer league a few years ago. It was supposed to be a beer league. That's what it was, slide tackling. Yes, there was a lot of that. There's a lot of like, this is just like Champions League thing going. I remember that and that's why I have stuck to indoor since, because yeah, it gets pretty rough. And not to mention, some of these fields are not in perfect shape. So there's a lot of ankle twisting going on as you're running around, especially when you're my age. But yes, we do want to see cassette tapes next week. What are these games? Are Sunday league, I assume?
They are. Yes, they are.
Okay, next Monday, we'll look at like the soccer Prince, basketball Prince, and stuff like that. And you guys get to see that it's a working class man's Prince. You know what I mean?
I'm for the people. God damn it. If there's anything I'm for the people.
He blends in really well. But we will blend tonight at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Do tune in then. Have an awesome week, everybody. We'll see you guys then. Take care.